Cambodian Broadcasting Network.
Chim đẹp xưa, nhưng khi nhóm chúng mình ta đại diện là nghe xa Parliament CBN Australia, cha xong có đọc bóng bóng tại nơi con sọc cái sọc ở khné chơi sẽ được ở cái này vừa từ tua khai một lần so CBN Australia, cha lại níคือจะทั้งไงที่ดับประมวยยกขยมกำปองแต่nơi một dụ anh toa tại mặt đó là bị chụp bao nhiêu chụp mùi luôn Surya Subedi cha xong chơi.
Shall I sit over there?
Yeah, be better.
Well, if I may begin, first of all, I would like to thank you all for coming to meet with me this afternoon. My sincere apologies for the slight delay in meeting with you. This has been a relatively short mission and a very hectic one. That's the reason I had to spend few more minutes finalizing my statement. As in the past, what I propose to do is to read out my main statement, then answer any questions that you may have afterwards. So when doing any reporting, please rely as much as possible on my written statement, which I will read out to you. When I have finished reading this out to you, you will be able to pick up a copy of my statement from outside of this room. I am about to complete my 10th human rights fact-finding mission to the Kingdom of Cambodia, the first since the National Assembly elections took place in July 2013. What I propose to outline are my initial findings and thoughts about the human rights situation in the country since my last mission. My final conclusions and recommendations will be contained in my report that I will present to the United Nations Human Rights Council in September this year. During this mission, I met with Prime Minister Hun Sen in the presence of Deputy Prime Ministers Sok An and Hor Nam Hong, Senior Minister and President of the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, O Min Theng, Minister of Labour and Vocational Training, It Sam Heng, Minister of Justice, Ang Bong Bathana, Secretary of State of Ministry of Interior from Sokha, and Governor of Phnom Penh, Pa Sokhit Bong. As with my previous missions, I also interacted with other stakeholders in Cambodia, including ordinary citizens, groups of youth and students, civil society organizations, leaders of the opposition party, as well as members of the international community, including development partners and the United Nations country team. I also met with some of the relatives and lawyers of the 23 arrested on 2nd and 3rd January. At the outset, I wish to express my appreciation to the Royal Government of Cambodia for the positive and constructive cooperation extended to me during this mission. The dialogue that I had with the Prime Minister was frank, cordial and informative. As I have emphasized in the past, in the delivery of my mandate as entrusted to me by the United Nations Human Rights Council, it is crucial that I am able to have a meaningful dialogue with all actors in the Cambodian society, particularly with the royal government. By extending full cooperation to me during this visit and engaging in meaningful dialogue, the Prime Minister has sent an important signal to the international community that he is ready and willing to seriously address the human rights issues in the country. Up until the end of 2013, my assessment of the evolution of the situation of human rights was generally a positive one. During my previous missions and in my earlier reports, I had called on the government to enable the leader of the opposition, Mr. Sam Rainsy, to return to the country from exile and to take an active part in the politics of the country. I was pleased when he was granted a royal pardon in time to lead his party in the elections in July 2013. I noted that the election was conducted in a largely peaceful manner, but was marred by allegations of electoral irregularities. Calling for an independent and credible investigation into these allegations, the Cambodian National Rescue Party refused to take seats in the National Assembly. However, I have noted with satisfaction that in the aftermath of the election, people were for the most part able to express themselves freely and to enjoy their freedoms of assembly and other freedoms through numerous protest marches and demonstrations, both large and small. These were well disciplined and peaceful, and were in general not restricted by the authorities. I believe that the ability of people to exercise their rights and freedoms was a sign of maturing democracy in Cambodia, which I welcome. However, the violence and excessive use of force on 15 and 22nd December, on 12 November 2013, and most recently on 2nd, 3rd and 4th January cast doubt on that view. While I also condemn the violence exercised by some demonstrators, the actions by the authorities in suppressing the crowds in the first week of January mark a worrying change from a tolerant to a repressive response of the government to public protests, which has been internationally condemned. It was against this background that I undertook my mission. I am deeply concerned about the conduct of authorities in relation to the events of the first week of January. As an immediate concern, I urge the authorities to seek the release on bail of the 23 individuals detained, particularly those requiring immediate medical treatment. Pending their release on bail, I urge the authorities for them to be moved to an appropriate pre-trial detention center in and around Phnom Penh, where they will have better access to their families and lawyers. The minor, held together with other adults, should be immediately transferred to a pre-detention trial center with facilities for minors. I condemn the incommunicado detention of the 23 for several days and urge the authorities to prevent the recurrence of such violation of individuals' rights. With regard to the use of force against civilian demonstrators, resulting in at least 4 confirmed deaths by gunfire and injuries. I call upon the government to establish the whereabouts of the individuals missing since these events. I reiterate my call for the government to ensure a thorough, credible and independent investigation into these incidents. I understand that only alleged protesters and not the security forces are being investigated. I strongly recommend that an investigation be undertaken on who issued and who carried out the orders to shoot. If no such order was given, the individuals who fired their weapons must be brought to justice. In regard to any future demonstrations and protests, the government should be mindful of its obligation to ensure that any use of force must meet the test of necessity, legality and proportionality. And that's how it meets, and that how it meets these tests must be explained. I note that the provisional ban on demonstration has been announced. I recommend that the government clarify the legal basis and justification